Welcome back to the Personal Finance Club show. How's it going, Jen?
Fantastic. How are you, Jer?
Great. Do you own any Bitcoin?
I don't.
You don't? Have you ever
No.
been messaged by scammers on the internet?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like a lot, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I want to tell a story that I literally have never told. I told to like some close personal friends in very private settings, but has never been public before. And the reason it's never been public is because it involves some illicit activity on my behalf. And so I guess I'll premise this whole story with saying maybe this is fictionalized. Maybe it didn't happen. Maybe any activities that I did that might be illegal is just a story I'm telling you, not true. And if they are true, I think as a listener, you might understand why I did it. But it's about scammers and Bitcoin. And so this was back in 2019. So this was 6 years ago. On Instagram, there's just this like wave of scammers who would message you and basically try to convince you to send them Bitcoin. And, they wouldn't say, send me Bitcoin. They'd say, I'm a crypto investor or I'm a Forex investor and I'm going to invest your money. And I don't know why they targeted me. I think that they were just kind of like randomly going after people's accounts who they found. But they basically would pretend to be this expert investor, show you these like fictitious returns. They might even direct you to a real website that they made that looks like an investment website. And then through the website, at the end of the day, what happens is you send Bitcoin to them and then they disappear. And it's like impossible to track and all that. And so I had a kind of a tradition of messing with them. I would just play along, play dumb, joke with them, make them jump through stupid hoops to, try to keep the scam going and pretend to be an idiot, whatever it was. But invariably, at some point, they would say, okay, send me the money. And then I would say, okay, I sent it or whatever. And then it would end because they'd say I didn't get it. And then they would figure out that I was just messing with them. And I'd also like to mention that I've learned more about scammers since then. I know a lot of them aren't like inherently evil people themselves. They're like maybe trafficked people or disadvantaged people who are being forced into this labor by, some even especially more evil people. And I also think the scams have shifted over time and it's more AI. But I think at the time, it was like actually a lot of like young people, not in the US, who were just trying to like steal money from Americans through this method. And I didn't like that. No matter what sob story you gave them, if you said, I'm a single mom and means the whole world to me or whatever, I'm sick, I'm dying, they would still just steal your money. So I felt very little sympathy for them from my perspective, at least. So anyway, one such day, I was messing with one of these scammers and I kind of got to the end of the rope and I said, okay, I'll send you the money. And I was like, I don't know what to do here because I'm not going to send him the money. I was on a drive and I remember having this epiphany where I said, wait a minute, I think I can steal money from the scammer. And I have certain skills. Like that Taken movie where it's
Liam
Liam Neeson.
Neeson's.
Yeah. He's like has certain skills. I have certain skills too. They're much nerdier skills. The
Hmm.
two skills that I have are like deep knowledge of personal finance, deep knowledge of product design, and pretty solid graphic design skills. And so what I decided to do was tell him that I sent the money. But what happened is when I sent the money using Coinbase, which is the the website where I keep my crypto. I have very little, by the way, like 10 grand or so. I'm going to tell him that Coinbase blocked the outgoing sending of Bitcoin. And what I did is I went to Photoshop and took a screenshot of Bitcoin, created a new dialogue that does not exist in Bitcoin that says this sending of Bitcoin has been blocked due to suspected fraudulent activity. You can't send this Bitcoin address unless they send you money first, proving that they're a trusted wallet.
Oh no, Jeremy.
And it's literally, the funny thing is it's the exact same scam that they run. They say, oh, you've got a different scam. Like, oh, the Nigerian prince has like a $6 million thing. You just have to send them $1,000 to release the money. So like, it's the exact same scam. It's like, you have to send me money to release the money. And, they're asking for like 5 grand or something like that. So I said, okay, I think it was $25 actually. So I said, okay, you have to give like 0.5% of what you're asking for. And I looked very professional. Like I said, my product design, my graphic design, my finance knowledge, it looked like it was like a real screenshot from Coinbase. And then I took my grainy cell phone in bad lighting, crooked, and took a picture of the screen as though I didn't know how to take an actual screenshot of a screen, then sent it to him. And, he pushed back. He's like, what is this? I'm like, let me try a different address, yada, yada, yada. And I kept, creating screenshots as necessary. And then lo and behold, this guy, he thought $5,000 was coming his way if he just had to release. And it didn't even, the screenshot said, as soon as you receive the $25, the $5,000 will automatically be released. So he thought he was dealing with Coinbase to automatically release the $5,000. And so on this day, I get a little ding on my phone, a little bit of Bitcoin comes my way. I've successfully stolen money from a scammer. And then I did it again to another one. And it was $25 or so each time. I actually looked it up right before this episode to fact check myself. Or maybe this whole thing's fictionalized. I plead the fifth if anyone ever asked me to, testify against myself. But that was back in 2019. Bitcoin's up 10x since then. So I think I now have about $550 that was sent from scammers back in 2019.
Why would you make me an accomplice in this crime? This is crazy.
You're not an accomplice. You can turn me in. I think what's the statute of limitations on overseas Bitcoin theft? I feel like this is probably one of the more. And this is of someone who is trying to steal from single mothers, dying people, cancer patients. No sob story you gave would stop them from stealing money. I think that and frankly, I partially did it for entertainment, not to make money. It wasn't that much money. It still isn't, but I did to disincentivize them from stealing. Right? They're the jerks. They're the jerks that are going and stealing from people all the time as a living. If they realize there's people out there wasting their time and fighting back, maybe they'll not do that, So that's what
next time, just block, hang up. Come on.
You're no fun, Jen.
Yeah, well, I'm not a criminal.
My CPA at some point, he's like, where did that money come from? Because you have to you have to account for your crypto gains and losses. And I was like, that was a gift from a friend.
Screaming. Okay, well, I would like to quickly move on to our next segment and get out of this murky territory.